Are we live?
Okay, so we just got to work out who's going to introduce us. So let's just do that now. So the person who wins will introduce. Okay. So paper, rock, scissors.
Okay. Do you know how to do this?
No. So paper, rock, scissors. So the person who wins will actually introduce. Okay, go. Okay.
Paper, scissors, rock. Where's your hand? Show us your hand. It's got to be on the video. Oh, we've got the same.
I've got the same too. So go again.
Paper, scissors, rock. You are so bad at this game. You're too slow.
There you go.
You know what? Stuff it. I'm doing it.
Okay, go.
Yeah, MC win. Okay, great. So welcome, everyone. This is our Facebook Live, and I'm sorry that we had to have that little fight on air just before we started. So we are Staff Leverage, and we have John McKenzie, Daniel Field, and me, Marie-Clare Boothby. And tonight we're going to be talking about how times have changed, but have business owners. So there's a lot of things to talk about in that topic, and I'm going to throw to John. Now, don't think I'm going to be the host for this whole thing. I'm not going to ask all the questions, so you guys jump in too. But I'll just quickly throw to John because he's going to kick off. It kicks off with something pretty profound. John, what do you think?
So times have changed to have business owners. Well, it's definitely a two-edged sword. Some business owners are just cutting edge and just nailing it. But what we find is most are just that far in the dark ages, they're in trouble, and it's very controversial saying that, but realistically, you've just got to have a look at their profit and loss, have a look at their margin, have a look at how much money they are putting in the bank, and they're not making enough money. So what they would argue is it's competition, or it's, costs are increasing, but the fact is they can't increase their sales or their price point per sale, per unit, which they aren't able to get that conversion happening to drive their profitability. And the reason for that is sales. They're not sales first. They don't have a sales culture. It doesn't matter what they say. 99% of businesses suck at sales. They've got no close. They don't do any scripts. They don't do any workshopping or script writing. Or they're not there. They're just not working hard enough in the sales environment. And I just see it so often at the moment. So for me, when I have a look at times have changed, have business owners, in the modern digital world where you can actually find new clients and convert them, digital business owners just don't have it there at the moment.
Can we touch on there about, like you mentioned, digital, absolutely, and that's critical these days. But I've found in the last few days especially, I've noticed a couple of businesses out there that actually look really good online. They've got a great Facebook following, in the thousands, which in the territory is quite good. And they've got good content as well, so before and after shots and a couple of videos and everything. But what I've noticed is when I've spoken to these businesses, they say, yeah, but it's really quiet. So for me, it's okay, it's not just online, it's not just digital. You still have to do the old school sales strategies, don't you? I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. What about you?
Look, I think that when we talk to business owners regularly, or even other people in marketplace using digital for an outcome, you say, you should use Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram and get involved with the market. But what I find is they say, but digital doesn't do it, because they're thinking about traditional sales, traditional business. And in many, many ways, they're right, but they couldn't be further from the truth. Because digital is just how you nurture your clients, how you engage with them, how you build a communication, what the narrative is, what story do you actually have, and how are you getting that environment or nurturing that particular environment. So for me, I just don't see how business owners at the moment are really working in that particular space. They're not working hard enough. They think that there's no bridge between digital and between traditional, and reality is for most businesses, except the online 100% automated sales businesses, they are pure digital, 100%. Most other businesses have actually got a combination of the two, and because they're so bad at the digital space, their sales are suffering.
Yeah. Shall we have a bit of a discussion about some of those strategies that some business owners may, or even anyone in sales, like I'm saying business owners, but this is anybody who's in a sales role and really all people who work would be in a sales role, wouldn't they? They've got to sell something. So should we have a bit of a talk about some of the strategies that may or may not be being used out there? Dan, you might be able to share a bit about this with what you've been seeing in some of those social platforms, the Instagrams and the Facebooks. What have you started to notice?
Well, the main thing that I've been noticing with most of the businesses, like me being in the sales game, I've been watching a couple of different ones, and they already have the following, and they do have quite a good following, but there has not been any follow-up to it. So what they're doing a few posts, they might be showing the products they're trying to sell, but all they're doing is expecting Facebook to sell the product for themselves. But at the end of the day, you still need the backup sales to follow through and to do the sales for you. As John was saying before, still need to nurture your customers. It's not going to be the magic wand if you just expect people to see your Facebook post. It's not going to happen magically for you. So, yeah. And I've been watching a lot of companies just expecting they hear about Facebook and they think, beautiful, all we need to do is jump on. They might chuck 5 posts on, and you see some companies actually do 5 posts a day, but then they won't be doing anything for the next 2 weeks. And they're wondering why they're not selling any products by doing it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And Dan, you mentioned there silver bullets, and that's something we talk about a lot here at Staff Leverage, isn't it? Because John, it's something we see quite often with clients. They want a silver bullet or a magic wand to be able to turn things around for them, and it's what they expect if they're looking for some sort of provider. But at the end of the day, that's not how business works, is it?
Yeah, look, I think in reality, all businesses want to do what they do better. So it's not it's something that it's unusual in the marketplace. All businesses are trying to find more sales or improve their customer service, or convert better, or improve their staff perception in the marketplace, or even care for their staff more. So they're always working on their business. But when we have a look at the silver bullets in sales or the silver bullets in social media, they go to social media and think, this is going to help me, it's going to get me into the marketplace. And then they do a few things, and it doesn't work because the time and effort that they're actually applying couldn't be further from the truth. So they become intermittent in their approach, and they're expecting that return of that silver bullet to be there, where it's actually playing a long game. I find that when I talk to a lot of businesses, most often they're looking for those short-term quick hits when they actually should be thinking about their long-term growth of the business, the long-term customer nurturing of the business. And so many businesses are falling into the trap trying to find the short-term gains, where most things can't happen within like 30 days. It takes longer.
Yeah, absolutely. You okay there, mate? You're coughing.
Can you hear me? I've actually muted it.
No. All good. So all right, let's move along to some of the things that we've seen work quite well. Dan, when we were off air, you were talking about Instagram in particular, and how you can try and nurture some prospects with a couple of strategies in that space. And in particular, you talked about hashtags and DMs or direct messaging.
Yeah, that's right. So using Instagram, I don't think there would be any Darwin businesses. There might be a couple, but from what I've seen, I can't see any Darwin businesses that would be going out there doing some research on Instagram. So one of the things with Instagram, every time someone posts a picture, they'll be hashtagging what it's relevant to. So if you were in an industry, you're doing your tags, and you'll have a really good idea of what you're chasing, you can simply search a product, get in there, find what you need to know, and really connect with that customer. So, and I don't think there'll be anyone out there that's actually doing any of this type of stuff in their businesses. So,
yeah, and that's true. I mean, that's how consumers are behaving too. When you go on Instagram, you do search hashtags these days because you are looking for things in particular, whether it's a trending topic or a celebrity or something you're looking for in the marketplace to do some research. That's what you do. So as business owners, it's a great tool to be on the other side of that, isn't it?
That's exactly right. So, yeah, if you are a business and you know that people are going to be searching those hashtags, if you put up an amazing picture with that hashtag in it and people are searching it, guess who's going to pop up first? And if it's good enough and it's relevant, it's always going to have a really good reach. So,
yeah.
But now let's get to the crux of it. So we've done that because we want to have customer engagement, but is there a sale with that? So you do the right thing, you get the right image, you got the right hashtag, you got the right following, you get some reach. Is there a sale with that right now?
Right now, there will never be a sale with it right now. It's the follow-up process. You send your direct message, and guess what you have to do afterwards?
Correct. And that's where I see most businesses are falling down, because they're not really, they don't have what I call a social conversion strategy or a social sales strategy. They've just got a social marketing. So for me, there's only one thing that matters when we talk about business and we talk about business investment. We're actually trying to determine how we find sales, which can drop into cash flow to protect the business overall. But when we talk to businesses and we say, hey, let's have a look at marketing, let's have a look at your website, let's have a look at your reach or your optimization or your organic ranking in terms of search, they're all looking for sales. But sales takes time, and there's all these different touch points along the way. And you're talking about, hashtags and relationships and direct messaging. How many customers, how many business owners and, I guess sales staff inside a business are reaching out by that direct message through Instagram or through Facebook?
I would almost be guaranteed that there is no sales staff that would be following up with it. Most businesses are actually using that administration department to do most of their social media. How is the administration department meant to convert sales?
Yeah, especially if they're not trained in that area.
100% agree. So it's just missing. So most businesses just don't have that on their radar, and they're actually tackling it the wrong way. And that's why they're not actually getting that conversion. So we've actually done quite a bit through Facebook as our primary drive, but we are going to pick up Instagram and coming probably in the next 6 weeks as one of our next markets. I know we've done a little bit in LinkedIn as well, but we found that using Facebook, using the different mediums of Facebook Live and video and so on, reaching our audience, nurturing them, giving them value on how they can actually achieve their goals in business, that we are converting many, many clients through the different aspects of what Facebook provides. So when I think on what you said, Marie-Clare, about businesses, they've got great reach, great social engagement, and they're not converting. The fact is they're not trained at conversion or converting. I once again, I don't see the salespeople actively engaged in the social space. I don't see what scripts and follow-up they've got, what methodology they've got from an operational processing perspective, and are they actually doing any training to be better at sales? Most businesses don't do that, and they wonder why their sales aren't there. I think it's time to look in the mirror.
And while we're on the subject of not just Facebook, but also, using different methods to convert, there's been a little bit of talk recently about what a waste of time Facebook groups can be, and how you can easily get caught up in, commenting so much and being asked lots of questions in those groups. And I've heard it from several fronts of recent times. John, I'm really interested to know, because I'm involved in a few groups and I find them incredibly resourceful in terms of connections that I make and, business contacts that can help me in all sorts of ways, not only from a learning perspective, but also from a connection perspective, and then obviously social conversion. But I've seen you do it really well also, where you have found new business ideas, but also clients through groups. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you managed to convert in that way?
So first things first, I'll start with what I've seen when I was over in the States on the trip for 5 weeks, hunting the best people in the world, particularly in social and search and conversion. And then I'll come back to the question. So in social media marketing world, the number one comment, if there was anything in groups, if there was anything at that particular conference, would have actually been, what's happening with the Facebook algorithm, what's happening with the page organic reach happening, because there's massive changes there. But then as they were talking about that, then they stepped into groups and Messenger are the two biggest things. Okay, so when you talk Facebook, it was all groups and Messenger. Understand groups, start your own group, start engaging through your audience, your target audience, build your own group that's pertinent to the audience, 100%. When I was at CERT, in SMX West down in San Jose, although it's not really social related, they did touch on, the benefits of those elements down there as well as primary focus. So for me, now getting back to the question, is there benefit in groups? 100%. I actually involve myself in groups to be part of the community. And then, how can I help other people? What level of engagement? How can you just, start being part of that environment? And what that actually does is it starts to build a lot of trust, like a lot of likability, and those relationships, the connection. That's what groups are all about. It's that community element. It's not about selling. But what you actually find when you're in that environment and people have a need, they don't actually mind you going off and talking to them, one-to-one through Messenger or direct message, whatever it might be, and saying, hey, I saw you got a need there. Is it something that you would like to talk about? Or, I've got some understanding in that environment. I can give you some pointers. They love it, and it builds trust straight away.
And one thing, if you don't mind touching on, when people think of groups in Facebook, I often hear them talking about, I don't find any value with the groups in the Northern Territory. But when we both work in groups and engage in groups that are not even in the territory, so they're from all places, from all different types of industry around the world, and we're actually getting a lot of social engagement from overseas in that space. So yep. You don't have to just focus on Darwin or the Northern Territory.
Well, I think that if we take the word of our region, Darwin, NT away, and we actually bring it back to social engagement, and we have a look at a business environment or an industry that you work within a region. So you try to work out how you do it better, how you learn, how you grow, how you engage. But, the wonderful thing of social media is it doesn't have to be, constrained to that particular region. As you said, we're actively engaged in a lot of groups all around the world. So that's building these relationships, nurturing the relationships, and getting that high level of likability, trust, and relationship. And that converts to sales when the time is right. So like Dan touched on earlier, in terms of the sales cycle, he was actually saying, do a post, get high levels of engagement, do all the different things you need, but it's not going to convert to sales day one. Because unless that person is an active buyer right here, right now, which is only 2% of the time, you're not actually going to convert. So what most salespeople do is they go back into that was a waste of time, rather than saying, hey, I'm going to nurture this, this relationship, this group, this environment, or that, that person in terms of your Facebook likes and posts and so on. And then taking that through and say, over the course of 12 months, there's going to come needs for those particular buyers, and now I'm going to have a far bigger sales funnel. And that doesn't happen because that's starting to think about the long game. Most people get back into the short-term game, short-term needs, and then trying to get those short-term sales cycle, and it's just not there. Yeah,
absolutely. So we touched on it, but we didn't sort of give away any, real advice, because if I think about last week, we did our event and we talked at that event, and I actually asked everyone in the room to put their hands up if they had, when somebody connected to them with them online, or they connected to somebody else, do they go and send a direct message saying thank you for connecting? And I'm pretty sure nobody put their hand up. Maybe one did. Dan, you've seen this in business as well, if you've asked people and they're not doing the same thing. So like you said before, it's about what you do next in the follow-up. Have you been talking to businesses about them doing their own direct messaging?
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, I've been speaking to different businesses, and when you start talking about the direct messaging side of things, it's just something they don't do, or they don't even understand it. So, and most of the time as well, you're just speaking to the wrong person, because who's taken control of their Facebook account?
Yep, the administrators.
So, yeah, most of the time when you start talking to them about direct messaging, it's not the right person that cares enough to be running it for them. So do they really care about who they're connecting with? Most of the time they don't. So I think the first thing is getting the right person to look after your social media page. It's your business. You should have something to do with it. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I know with me personally, and from a business perspective, I certainly try to do a direct message for anyone I connect with. And it does, you can ask them a question and they can respond. And even if you don't, it's that connection that makes it social. Like, it's called social media. It's not called watching media or observing media. It's called social media. So it's really critical that, everyone, whether they run a business or they're in sales or they're in administration, they should have an understanding of how they can make it work.
That's right. And they should be getting into it for the right reason too. Some businesses are getting into it because of their mate's business has done it and it's worked really well for them. So they get someone else to run it for them. If they're not in it and they don't have the passion to follow up with it, they just do a half-ass social media account, you're not going to get anywhere with it. You have to be active with it. So
absolutely,
that's a really good point. So Dan, we actually have elements of social media that we help people with. So what we're seeing is when someone wants to just pay for a service and just get it done, the outcome of that particular service is not as powerful as that business owner or that manager saying, hey, I'm now going to actively be part of that team. So that they say, it's time to do something. We're going to get engaged with social. We're actually going to try and work out if we can nurture and take care of our clients. And then they start taking responsibility. When the business starts to abdicate responsibility and pass it on to someone else because it seems like the right thing to do, the sales cycle just doesn't get better. You might as well not do it. You might look better online. It might give you a bit of a buzz. But when we talk about social and we talk about social selling, you've got to actively be part of that journey. And often what that looks like is education, communication, nurturing, direct messages, and just being a part of that process. When we work with our clients doing that, man, do they get sales. When they don't do that, they wonder why they're not actually getting their conversions. It's because they've abdicated responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, fellas, I think we should wrap it up there. But I will ask if you two have anything final to add, but I do want to make sure that I get in that we do this live broadcast about once a week, give or take, and we are always looking for others that we'd like to speak to. So if anyone out there is interested, get in touch with us, because we'd love to hear about what's going on in your business and how you're finding things, and just have a good old chat. Like, it helps you, it helps us. It's a great way to get exposure and practice lives. How did you go, Dan?
Yeah, good.
Is that all right?
Yep, perfect. So my main thing that I wanted to...
Sorry.
You go.
I was going to say, I love that these two are wearing their pilot headsets like we were about to take off in an aeroplane.
Has to be
hilarious.
Done. Someone's got to do it. So,
although you look like you're at a racing car.
Yeah, exactly. Now, my main thing is, if you're a business owner, you own social media accounts, just try get involved with it a little bit. You might not like it. Some people might think they can just bury their head in the sand and get away from it, but it's not going anywhere, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So get involved. Your customers will like to see you. So just get out there. It's not going anywhere.
Love it. Yeah, great advice, and I agree 100% with you. What about you, John? Any final words before we take off?
Oh, just perhaps building on what Dan was saying, like if you have a look at the stats, I think Instagram's up moving towards either half a billion or a billion. I definitely know Facebook's over 2 billion users at the moment, and well over 1 billion active monthly users. Those people just want someone to talk to them. They want to be nurtured. They want to be cared for. So I think that getting involved and just taking care of your business, and probably the one key thing is, please, business owners, if you've got your accounts, make sure that you own the account. They're not in your staff member's name or manager's name or someone else's name. Please make sure that you have the administration rights I've seen a couple of times in the last 10 days, perhaps a bit further, where those accounts have been lost after a number of years of building them, and because the owner cannot go back in and take control of that account, they've actually lost the account. And I don't like to see business owners taking advantage of or going backwards when they've actually gone to the length of care in starting to build their social network. So please make sure that you actually have control of that account. Yes, other people can come in and use it from an editing rights and some other, user perspective, but make sure that you are the admin.
Absolutely. That's really good advice. Yeah, because that's to think that you are locked out of your own account after all those, all the effort, it's just not worth it. So awesome. All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll end our live session there. And as I said, if anyone would love to come on next week, shout it out and we'll get you on. Bye.
Ciao.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.